Hi, everyone, and welcome to day 10 of Learn How to Study Abroad in 30 Days. In today's video, we are going to be talking about some common application mistakes that a lot of study abroad students make, usually not intentionally, but they are pretty easy to make. And so these are the ones that you're going to want to stay away from. We're going to head into day 10 now. All right, everyone, so we are diving into day 10 of our Learn How to Study Abroad in 30 Days series. How is it going for you? Leave me a comment below. Let me know. Is this helpful for you? What are some of the things that have stuck out to you? I want to hear more from you in the comments, so definitely leave a comment below. So today we're going to be talking about application. So now that you have done the work and you have figured out why you still want to do this thing called study abroad, and you've decided on some programs and you're starting to get into the nitty-gritty of it, you know, it's time to start thinking about your application. So we're going to talk about applications today. So common application mistakes to avoid specifically is what we're talking about today, because it's so important to make sure that you get the application right. Now, of course, you want to get the other things right. You want to get the essay, personal statement right. You want to make sure that you get, your letters of recommendation. You want to pick the right people for that. There's all these different things that happen. But common application mistakes to avoid that we're going to talk through in a second are very important because, you know, it's very similar to thinking about a resume or a cover letter for a job. A lot of times it is the defining factor between what moves you ahead and what gets you put in the trash pile. I hate to say it so bluntly like that, but that really is true. You know, as being someone on this end now that has worked at, you know, kind of hiring people and looking through applications, while I think that you have to have some discernment between knowing that things happen and people do make mistakes, that sometimes it is something that if a paragraph is off in a resume or a cover letter, then I'm thinking, well, this person didn't spend a lot of time thinking about that particular part of what they were doing, and I don't know if they would be a best fit for this. And that is something that you're going to face throughout your entire sort of academic and then professional career. So you want to be very cognizant of that, of just being aware that, yes, we know that mistakes happen. We know that people are human, and sometimes you can get through with a typo or two. It has happened to me, you know, where I have still gotten called for an interview and gotten jobs, even though I went back and was like, oh, shoot, like I had a typo, in my resume. And, you know, may have even been something that if I felt really sort of self-conscious about it, that I joked about it in the interview. Again, you have to get to a certain level within your career to feel confident doing that. But just overall, when doing something like this, similar to what you've done maybe in the past when applying to colleges, you want to make sure that you're in the best position possible to make a good impression. Again, people are going through, they're reading so many applications, and you want them to be one that, you know, you will remember for a good reason. So definitely let's try to work on that. So I'm just going to put it out there that reading is fundamental and rereading is golden. So this is where you want to start. You want to actually read the application, just read it through. So I know one of the things that most people like to do, and I'm the same a little bit, is that when I have an application that I want to do, is that I want to immediately just start filling it out. And of course, the basic stuff like, you know, what your name is, please get that right, where you live, all of that stuff, that's important. But you want to just stop and just read through the application. So you want to read through it, just skim it once. What I like to say is skim it first, read through it, and then read through it again. The reason why you want to do that is because of these questions. You want to know, what are you being asked to complete? So are you asked to complete just section 1A of the application, and then the second half needs to be completed by, let's say, a guidance counselor? Do you need to complete the front and the back? So what are you actually being asked to do? When does it need to be completed? So we've already talked about, in a few videos ago, we talked about organization. So ideally, you would already know, you know, before you start applying when it is due. But on the application, they're going to clarify that. So you will want to just make sure that that lines up with what is on your form or your sheet of, does this line up with when I'm expecting it to be due? What do others need to complete? So this comes in with the fact of, do you need letters of recommendation? If you do, how many do you need? Do they specifically say that we want one academic reference one personal reference? Do they say that they want one academic reference from the, let's say, chair of the department that you're in currently at your school, and then one from a current instructor or teacher? What are they actually asking for? Again, all these things are very important, and most programs are going to have that listed on the application or on the web page where you download the application. It's going to be there written clearly somewhere. If not, you may just want to check in with them to verify what you need. Last but not least, if you have prompts, if you have essays that you need to write, what are they asking you to sort of understand and write about? So if you have something that you need to write about, what are they asking for in that particular essay? Are they looking for you just to tell them more about who you are? Are they looking for you to go into more detail about some type of challenge you faced academically? Are they looking for more of a letter of motivation style type essay or prompt where they're looking for you to actually write what is going to be motivating you and inspiring you to complete the study abroad program? So all those things are very important, and believe it or not, like one misstep on that can put your application in a totally different realm of what you want to do because you didn't follow direction. So very important to read and reread. Okay, also understanding formatting, style, and submission rules. So this is another part where a lot of students can go wrong. And as I've talked about, if you're coming to me for some free coaching, again, link to my Calendly is below, so definitely sign up for a free 30-minute session. But when you come to that session, I definitely want you to have everything that you already need in the format, in the style that you're going to want to submit. And we want to have it, as close to done as possible. You may not be done when you come to me, but we want to make sure that we have it so we're starting off on the right track and finishing how we want to start. So with formatting, are they asking for it in a specific font? That is one thing that's very important. If you have it in Times New Roman, but they're looking for Arial, and they may be looking at that. There's a reason why everything is written the way it is. So if they have it specifically, they want it in 13-point Arial, and you have it in 12-point Times New Roman, you may be counted out because you didn't follow directions. There's a reason why people have formatting instructions. It could be based on maybe the people that are reading it, they have a certain software that they're using that software, and that's the only type of font that will work. You don't know what it is. Do they have a specific margin, that they want you to fit it in? Again, same thing. Maybe they are in a different country than where you come from. They're printing it out, and so their measurements are different in the way that they do the printing style, printing paper. I'm thinking about US versus UK and how the paper is a lot different that people use. And so you want to think about things like that, and most of the time, they will specify that for a reason. What is the style that they want it in? So for example, I'm thinking about your essay. Do they want it in first person? Do they want it in third person? Do they want it to be more relatable? Do they want it to be more formal? They will typically give you some guidelines on that, and you need to stick to that as much as possible. Last but not least, submission rules. What are the rules around submission? We're going to dive into that a little bit later on in this video, but what are the rules behind submission? Do they want you to have everything in one PDF and you turn it in online? Do they want you to submit the application online, but then things like your letters of recommendation, your transcript, those are going to be sent in hard copy form through the mail? Do they want you to submit it on a specific day? What are the rules around that? All of these things matter. They're all going to be written down for you. They should be. And if not, then you're going to need to do a little bit more legwork and, inquire yourself to make sure that you're on track, because you would never want to get into a spot where you didn't follow something that was very simple and that ended up disqualifying you or putting you on some type of wait list just because you didn't follow directions. So keep that in mind. On to this point. Digital versus snail mail. So I know that it's a bit crazy, particularly for most of you out there who are probably younger millennials or Gen Zers, and you're thinking, well, do people even still use the mail anymore? Like, what is mail? And this goes for people who are here in the U.S. or people who are in different countries. I know that it's probably a lot more foreign to you to actually get mail, but yes, people do still use mail. I get mail almost every single day through my P.O. box and through my regular just house mailbox. And so yes, we still get mail, all of us, and maybe you get some mail too. So when it comes to applications for study abroad, it is really going to just depend on the program that you're applying for. As I was just touching on in the previous slide, I was saying that For some programs, they may have it where they want you to do the application piece digitally and virtually, but then the rest of the documents and information needs to be sent in hard copy form. For some of them, they will want it all in hard copy form. I can tell you from going back to a couple of days ago when I was talking about me applying to the 25 plus programs for graduate school. It may have changed now, but I know that when I was applying to my programs in the UK, they wanted hard copies of everything. And so you know what that looked like? That looked like me getting up very early on a Saturday morning, which is fine for me, but wasn't so fine for the people at the post office, although I did call in advance. And so I had a very lovely person, I will never forget her, who was working with me doing that behind the counter. It took us about 2.5 hours to get through all of this because, as you can imagine, it's not just about going to the post office and mailing this off. If you're trying to mail internationally, there's a lot of different forms that you have to fill out. You have to weigh everything for each application. And so I will never forget going through that experience. Of course, you're probably not applying for 25 plus programs and you're not a crazy person like me. So you're not doing that. But still, even if you have just 2 programs, you want to just understand what that's going to look like. And of course, you want to make sure that it gets there. So that's going to be another expense as well if you want to pay for, let's say, if you're here in the US and you want to pay for priority international mail, that is an expense. So there's all these little things that a lot of people don't necessarily think about when they are filling out their study abroad application that I am trying my best to touch on in this series. Of course, if it's all digital, that is great. That's going to be great for you. But then what does that look like? Does it mean that you submit it through a PDF? Does it mean that you submit it all through a zip file? Does it mean that you upload it to a certain portal where you have a password? What does that actually look like? Again, you want to understand what that means for every application so that it can go as smoothly as possible. And so similar to thinking about when you were just applying to college or to graduate school and you had to do lots of checking over your application, it is no different for applying for a study abroad program. So definitely make sure that you are doing your due diligence with that. With that being said, I hope that you have had a chance to catch up on the other videos in this series. If not, videos 1 through 9 are linked in the description card above. So definitely give those a check out and catch up on what we've been talking about. And I will see you in day 11.